Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, December 12th, 2017. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change, joined, as always, on Tuesdays by Duane Long. We will spare you the weather. From now on, it's going to be 20 and cold in the Gem City, same in Columbus. Duane, are your puppies going to be quiet this fine morning?
Well, we're hoping. We're making no promises in that regard. One of them just stepped on my head just as we started. So, yeah, no promises.
Longtime devotees of Front Row Radio and the Bucknuts Morning 5 will remember that it was not a real show with Duane until we heard some animals in the background. Today, we are going to discuss recruiting. Obviously, the early signing period is now 8 days away, December 20th. A new wrinkle in recruiting. It has accelerated the decision process for a lot of dudes who probably would have held out until hat dance time around the All-Star games. But quarterback has been the most interesting. It usually is. Emory Jones, the quarterback out of Georgia, has been committed to Ohio State basically since Friday Night Lights almost 2 years ago. But they have gotten a recent commitment from Matthew Baldwin, the one-time Colorado State commitment out of Lake Travis High School in Austin, Texas. Now, we do not know whether Emory Jones will sign with Ohio State or not. There will be a premium story coming out today by Bill Kurlick, perhaps already out by the time this hits the air. He spoke to Emory's coach last night. You will get a complete update on that. But suffice to say, signing day could be very interesting. What is your vibe on the situation? How badly do you want Jones? What do you think of Baldwin? What do you think will happen, Duane?
Well, I'm very excited about Baldwin, Dan. I got to tell you, when you watch this kid's film, the way he throws the ball, he's beautiful. He's exactly what you're looking for. He's exactly what I'm looking for. See, I'm not a zone read guy. I'm not down with that. Not really a big fan of the spread. I'd rather let Kevin Wilson install his offense completely and be done with this. But Urban Meyer's won 3 championships doing it his way, and that's just you're just not going to get a guy he's not going to change his way that's been so successful for him. For me, what I want in a quarterback, he's got to have some athleticism. He's got to be able to handle the rush, get himself out of trouble. He's got to have that much mobility. He's got to be able to scramble out of there, keep plays alive, and if there's open field in front of him, he's got to be able to use that. I don't need a guy that's going to be a threat with his feet. He is extra. But I want a guy that's going to be able to throw the ball and, just have enough athleticism. We see that with Haskins. We got a little bit different with Tate Martell. He is a weapon with his feet. And then you got Emory Jones. Well, Emory Jones, I can't get it out of my head. The film we saw over the summer, he's at some camper combine. They're just watching him stroke it. They're sitting him back there. There's no rush. There's nobody covering the receiver. And I'm watching him go Joe Germain. I mean, it's in the cheap seats with no rush and nobody covering the receiver. And I tried to dismiss it at the time, but in my head, I can't stop running that film over and over in my head. How are you missing? What is going on there? So I've had that little reservation banging around in my head ever since then. And, maybe too much is being made of it, which is what I said at the time. So I'm of the opinion that whether he's in or out, I can live with it either way. But really, I don't see how he's going to come in and he's going to beat this kid out. Well, you always got the element that Urban Meyer's going to run that zone read. But here's the thing I want fans to think about. We played to the strengths of quarterback in this offense with J.T. Barrett. With a guy he's so much like Barrett, except he's a better runner. He's Braxton Miller type runner. He's just incredible. He's another one of those guys that can move to receiver when his college career is over. But are we going to be in that same situation? Are we going to be looking at the same kind of offense once he's here, because he's just not accurate enough? So very strong arm, definitely has arm strength, but it doesn't really matter if you can't hit the target. So I got that concern in my head. I don't have it with Baldwin, and he is just athletic enough that he can do the things we need him to do, get out of the pocket when he needs to, keep that play alive, and pick up some yardage when he's chased out. So I'm very happy with Baldwin, and what Emory Jones does this quarter, I don't care.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, and that this is almost a referendum on the future of the offense. Now, it's not literal. They could still take both of them. This is just my opinion reading the tea leaves. Again, this is just Dan's opinion. I don't think Emory Jones is coming. I don't see what he would gain from doing that now in terms of the process. He could still show up and be a great player, but it does feel like the offense is shifting. If you look at the offer that went out recently to Max Duggan, the kid out of Iowa, he does look a lot more stylistically like Matthew Baldwin than he does Emory Jones. I think it's fair to say that Baldwin is closer to Haskins than anyone on the staff right now. I think it's very interesting. Obviously, they're going to give Dwayne Haskins and Joe Burrow a shot to battle it out, but the future of the offense and who is really calling the shots is arguably the most compelling thing we've got going here. Definitely something to keep an eye on. The good news is, I think if it was Baldwin, if it was Jones, if it was both, the talent is there that if you get him in the right system here, I think we'll be in good shape. I'm in no way quitting on Emory Jones. I just don't think he's coming. Don't forget, Baldwin comes from a factory. Lake Travis has had something like 7 straight Division I quarterbacks play there. Chad Morris, the new coach at Arkansas, started his offense and his reputation as a high school coach at Lake Travis. The Heisman Trophy winner, Baker Mayfield, went to Lake Travis. So Lake Travis is having a strong little stretch here, and maybe the Buckeyes will take advantage of it. Another really interesting topic to me in recruiting, and a sure sign that we are a tremendous program, is there are concerns about defensive end going forward in the depth department. Bear in mind, next year Ohio State is likely to start on one end Nick Bosa, and on the other end Chase Young. I've said it before. I'm not sure it'll be next year, but in terms of career achievement and career impact, it'll be the best 2 defensive ends Ohio State has ever started at one time. I think both those guys have top 5 draft pick potential. There are Heisman articles written that think Nick Bosa is going to be a candidate next year based on talent and brand. I don't think that's the case, but the fact that he's even in the mix is ridiculous. So we've got tremendous starters. After that, Jonathan Cooper and crickets. Brenton Cox was the only defensive end committed in the class. He has flipped. He will probably be going to Georgia, or another Southern staple. What's your vibe on defensive end depth? How important is it to get one in the class? And how do you look at the current roster as a spot to possibly generate a few more DEs?
Well, I mean, to me, it's a concern when you look at what we want to do, which is keep a rotation of fresh bodies in there. I mean, think about what we had this past year, Dan. We had Tyquan Lewis and Sam Hubbard, both guys that are probably going to go, I'd say, at least by the second round of the NFL draft. But we saw as much of Jalen Holmes and Nick Bosa as we did either one of them. We like a rotation. We've only got one other guy. Cooper is not a guy that can really rotate at both spots. He's just not big enough. It would be Chase Young, who you want to keep at the on the edge at rush end, would probably be a better fit to rotate in to spell Bosa if you need to. But on the other hand, it just says, how many teams actually play that many defensive linemen? You want to, but do you have to? I think it's best that you keep the fresh bodies in there, but I don't think it's as necessary as we're making it out to be. It's a want, not a need. So I think we'll be fine. We still have some guys on the board. We're in a good situation with Tyreek Smith. We could still get Owe. So, it's not over. We could have a guy to plug in there, and I think we can rotate a guy out. I mean, Deshaun Cornell has never really grown into a full-time three-technique tackle. He just hasn't. He's been, when he flashed, he showed well when he's been in there. He could kick back out. It's not like we're hurting for defensive tackles. We still can get toe guy, and we got guys coming in anyway. So we've got good depth at defensive tackle. So kicking them out is not a thing that we're going to say, oh my, now what do we do at tackle? So that could happen. And let's keep in mind that Malik Harrison, is a long, tall guy. A little bit, he's playing linebacker, playing well for us, but he's a guy that can pack on a few pounds and slide down the defensive end. And then you got Browning. There was always a suggestion that he could grow into a defensive end. So we've got a couple of guys. I don't want to hear the talk about moving Rashad Berry over to defensive end. He's going to be our starting tight end. He's already moved up the depth chart. He moved ahead of a couple of outstanding tight ends. And just because Ruckert, who looks like the best tight end we've ever recruited, is coming in and is probably going to play immediately, that doesn't mean he's a freshman. Dan, you don't want to put freshmen. The closer you get to the line of scrimmage, the less you want freshmen in your too deep. So that's just as good as he is. I just don't see that. And Berry showed flashes of being really outstanding. He catches the ball well. After the catch, he's a real problem for the defense, and he blocks well. So I just don't see him taking the starting tight end and moving him to a backup defensive end. That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So let's drop that and look for maybe a recruit, maybe Cornell, maybe we're going with just the starters and try to get some kind of low rotation going with the three of them. Just the one thing I think is out is Berry moving over. Your starting tight end moving it back up just does not make sense to me.
Hearing you lay it out that way, I think I actually agree with you on Berry. The thing about him, he might be a nice guy off the field, but he plays like a mean SOB, which I love. Sometimes that's better served on the defense. I could see Berry being a guy to really break out, too, in terms of the offensive version of maybe your Darren Lee, a guy who never really had a real position and once given the chance to focus, coinciding with his growth physically and within the program, I think Berry could be has a very bright future in football. He's definitely one of those guys that's going to be in the NFL for a long time. When you're that size and you can run, Rod Smith had over 100 yards receiving for the Cowboys this past weekend, and the earth did not rotate off its axis, which is amazing. So anyone who predicted that, I got some stocks you need to look into for me, maybe some Bitcoin. Speaking of the defensive line rotation, there's always a few guys who are considering leaving that it would be better off for the team to recruit back I think at Ohio State you have those guys who are definitely gone. In that category this year, I would put Denzel Ward and Sam Hubbard, both justifiable for their own reasons. They're going to be very wealthy individuals this time next year. But one of the guys that's most interesting to me and I think would really help the defensive line rotation if they could recruit him back is Draymond Jones. I think we're going to have, if you bring back Jones, you possibly have a starting rotation somewhere in the Draymond Jones, Antoine Jackson, the transfer from Bloom Junior College. You got B.B. Landers in there. I think Teron Vincent, the freshman of IMG, can contribute. Davon Hamilton, Jay Sean Cornell could split some time. So we're looking at defensive tackle, and then you throw in guys like Togai possibly. Could be the deepest it's been, at least in a long time. How important do you think it is for them to recruit Draymond Jones back into the fold?
I think it would be great that we could get him back in because he's a guy that could rotate back outside. And what I would argue with him about is, look, dude, there's as many 3-4 teams that think you could be what's called a base end.
Five technique,
in the 3-4 defense. 5 technique is what they end up playing. Even though it's a little bit different as far as where they actually line up in a 3-4. But he could do himself a favor by coming back. We'll promise him some reps at end and let him get a little experience. Let him get a little bit of film going of being a defensive end, a base end. So, and here's the thing. The one thing that everybody's got strengths and weaknesses. No, there's no perfect player. The one thing that any NFL scouting department is going to say is he may be a little light to be a 3 technique guy, need a bigger, stronger guy, and push him down the draft board. Whereas as he's perfect size for a 3-4 base end, and let him get a little film. And I'll tell you another one I need to throw in there. I think Hubbard's lack of experience as a defensive lineman. I mean, let's not forget he was a high school safety. He hasn't had a lot of reps as a defensive end. So it wouldn't hurt him. I mean, he's probably going no later than the second. I'd be really surprised. I could see teams trading up to get him if he falls to the 3rd round. But he can improve his situation even more with another year worth of tape. So, and the knock on him is coming up with sacks. He's just one of those all-around guys that just is going to play the position outstanding. He's going to play the run. He's going to do his job extremely well, and throw in some sacks too. Well, getting closer to double-digit sacks would push him even higher in the draft, so it wouldn't hurt him to come back.
Can't disagree with that. I don't think Sam will be back, but everyone could use another year of tutelage, and of course it would help the Buckeyes. That's going to do it for us today. Keep in mind the next 8 days here are going to be fast and furious. If you don't have a premium membership right now, you're not going to be able to get the inside word. We have some great deals going right now. The recruiting coverage from Bill Kurlick and Steve Wiltfong, Adam Gleitman et al. is the best you're going to get. It's a very fluid situation with guys deciding to leave or not. So the roster's in flux. We will roll with it here and keep on top of it. Have a good one, Bucknutters.